All right, gonna do Microsoft Simnet Excel Guided Project 2-3. And Chapter 2 with Excel really starts getting into formulas, so it does get substantially more challenging than Chapter 1, which just really deals with formatting. So in this one, Sierra Pacific Community College District is 4 individual community colleges. The workbook for this project includes an amortization schedule for student loans and a fee and credit hour summary for several departments. So we've got 2 sheets in this workbook. We've got a student loan worksheet and we've got a fees and credits worksheet. So we're going to begin with the student loan worksheet. It tells us what we're going to do. We're going to name some cell ranges. Instead of cells just having names like B14, you can actually name these cells different things. It's going to show us that. We're going to create and copy formulas. Like I said, formulas are a major part of Chapter 2. We're going to set the mathematical order of operations. We're going to use absolute references in formulas. We're going to insert the current date as a function. We're going to use the payment function. We're going to audit some formulas, and we're going to use the sum if and product if or sum product functions. So I've opened my file, I've clicked enable editing, and I'm ready to go. So first thing we're going to do is set some range names for the workbook. So it says on the student loan sheet, we want to click cells B5 through C8. So I'm going to get these, I'm getting loan amount, term, rate, and then I'm getting these values over here. Once we have those selected, in the top here, we want to go over to the Formulas tab. And then in the Defined Names group, we want to click Create from Selection. We click Create from Selection. We want to verify that the left row is selected and the top row is not, and then click OK. I've gone through these steps here. Whoops. And then it wants me to, this is step E, select cells E5 through F7 and do the same thing. So E over to F, down to 7. Create from selection, verify the settings are correct with left column selected, choose OK. Then it wants me to click the Name Manager button to see what I have just done. So if I go up here and click on Name Manager, now it shows me the names of these cells because I chose the value from the left side. It does put an underscore in where there's a space. It tells me what the value is, tells me what the cell refers to. It gives me the sheet and then the cell, and then it tells me the scope of this. So now on cell C5 here, when I click on it, it's not called cell C5 anymore. It's called loan amount. I've got my different cell names here as well. And I can use those names in formulas. We're going to build these in just a minute. Next step, actually. It's going to show us how that works and how that's useful. So it wants me to put in a payment function. So we're going to go to cell C8. And then it wants me to go on the Formulas tab in the function library to the Financial group. And I want to scroll down, they're alphabetical until I see PMT for payment. And it shows me there all the arguments. When I click on that, it launches this dialog box. I can put in my arguments here. And it wants me to click in the rate box. I'm going to click in the rate box, make sure my cursor is blinking in here. And then it wants me to click on cell C7. And when I click on cell C7, instead of coming in as C7, it populates as rate because that's what we've named the cell. So we've got the rate of our loan here, 5-year loan, $10,000. So for the rate, it tells us immediately after that, we want to type /12 to divide it for 12 monthly payments because it's giving us an annual rate. Then we want to go to the NPER box. This is the number of payments. We click in the number of payments box and we want to select cell C5, the loan term. But this time it's telling us a 5-year loan, but again, we want it in months. So this time we want to multiply *12 to multiply. Then we want to go into the present value box, the PV box, and type in the minus sign, a negative sign, and then we want to click on the loan amount. And it comes in as negative 10,000. It gives us our quick calculations over here. And so it tells us this from a finance perspective. It's not a finance class, but it's a negative value reflects the lender's perspective since they've now given you the money. So we want to leave the future value and type boxes empty, and we want to say OK. The value it shows me right here, and when I click OK, it comes out to $186.43. So if you don't have that correct, fix that because the whole rest of this will not work unless this is correct. Okay, so it wants me to verify that C8 is a counting number, so I'm going to go back to my Home tab. I see it's not. I see it's currently set to currency. So I can either click the drop down there and choose accounting, or I can click the $ here, which is the accounting number format, and that'll change it. The basic difference between currency and accounting currency, the $ is kind of right up on it. And with accounting format, the $ is aligned more to the left. To match cell C5, it says, okay, so we did that. All right, step 4. we're going to start building some formulas now. This was a function. Now we're going to do a formula. So it wants me to click on cell F5, the total interest. It says this value is calculated by multiplying the number or by the monthly payment by the total number of payments to determine the total outlay. From that amount, you subtract the loan amount. So it's going to tell us exactly how to build this formula step by step here. So we begin with saying equals. So I hit equals. Formulas always begin with equals. Then I clicked on cell C8, the payment, and because I've named that, it pops up in here as payment instead of C8. Then I want to click type asterisk for multiplication. I want to choose cell C6, the loan term. I want to do times 12 for monthly payments. Then I want to hit minus, and I want to choose the loan amount. Press enter. I come up with $1,185.81, which it gives me as the solution right here. So we know that we've done that correctly. And again, if you need to see that formula, it's up here in the address bar. It should say payment times loan term times 12 minus loan amount. That's how you get your interest. Okay, so step 5, we're going to create a total principal formula and the total loan cost. So the total principal is, we're going to do this really just to check our math because we already know the total principal is 10 grand, the amount that they lent us. But it says the value is calculated in this instance by multiplying the monthly payment by the total number of payments and then taking away the interest, which we just calculated. So we're going to start our formula just like before. We're going to click equals. Then we're going to choose the payment. Then we're going to do asterisk for multiplication times C6, the loan term, times 12 for 12 monthly payments, and then minus, and this time, the total interest. So the payment times the loan term times 12 for monthly payments minus the total interest. This should be 10 grand. Hit the button. There we go. So it's just figuring it in another way, kind of a way to check your math there and make sure you haven't made a error. It tells us the total principal is the amount of the loan. And then we want to click on cell F7, the total cost. Well, the total cost, we hit equals. Now we've named these cells as well, if you'll recall. The total cost is just the principal plus the interest. So it just tells us F5 plus F6. So I click on F5, but it pops up as total interest, whoops, plus F6, the total principal. Another reason you do it this way, if somebody came along after you and looked at these formulas, instead of saying, oh, what are in these cells, whatever, now it's very clear, how did you come up with this? Well, I took the interest plus the total principal to give me the total loan cost of $11,185.81. Okay. Now the fun part, the amortization schedule. This is how your payments go. So with the flat loan, banks tend to get their interest up front. And as you go through, your payment remains constant. But at the beginning, the amount you're paying towards interest is very high, and the amount you're paying towards principal is very low. And that changes as you go through the loan, although the overall payment remains the same. So this is the cool part where we're going to let Excel do some math for us. So we want to click in cell B13, the beginning balance. The beginning balance is the loan amount. So we just want to say equals to start our formula. And we want to click on cell C5, the loan amount. Hit enter, and that $10,000 populates down there. But it's just a number, so we want to format it as accounting number format. So select the cell, click the $, accounting number format. Then we want to select cell C13, the interest. Whoops. It says the interest for each payment is calculated by multiplying the balance in column B by the rate divided by 12. So we're going to build that formula. We hit equals to begin our formula. We click cell B13, the beginning balance. Then, this is important, whoops. Then we want to use parentheses to overdo the natural mathematical order of operations. So after equals B13, we're going to do asterisk for multiplication, open parentheses. Then we want to click cell C7, the rate. We want to do divided by 12 to get a monthly rate from that annual rate, and close parentheses. And so what the parentheses do is it makes it do this math first and then multiply. If we didn't do it this way, it would take B13 times the rate and then take that value and divide it by 12, which would give us a bad result. So we want to hit enter. It tells us the result should be 37.5, formatted as accounting. I'm formatted as accounting, so we are good to go with this. Okay, we want to go over to cell D13 under principal. Whoops. In cell D13, it says this portion of the payment that is applied to the principal is calculated by subtracting the interest from the payment. So we're going to hit equals to begin our formula. We want to click cell C8, the payment. We want to hit minus for the subtraction. And then we want to choose cell C13, the interest. Press enter. should come up with $148.93. So for this first payment, which is 186, 3750 that's going towards interest, 148 is all that's going towards the principal. So next, the total payment, we're just going to calculate it in a different way. Again, we already know the total payment's 186, but we want to make sure our math's right. So for the total payments, we just want to say equals, and we just want to do C13 plus D13. Press enter. Comes up and matches, so we know that we're good. Then we want to figure the ending balance. The ending balance is the beginning balance minus the principal payment. So it's not minus the total payment, only this principal amount. So we hit equals to start our cell, start our formula. Then it wants us to click B13, our beginning balance. We want to hit minus D13, our principal payment, and press enter. And it tells us the ending balance is $9,851.07. And again, if you have the instructions up, there's a review of all the formulas in all of those cells. So 7, here's the part where we're going to let it do the math for it. So it wants us to select cells A13 through A14. So I'm just going to select A13, go to the middle so I get the big plus, and F14. This is a series with an increment of 1, 1, 2. Then it wants me to drag the fill pointer down to cell A72. So just go to the lower right corner so you get the little plus, hold down the button, left mouse button, drag down, and 72 is where your border ends. So it kind of automatically stops there, but let go and it should count to 60. These are our 60 monthly payments. Okay, once we've got that populated, we want to go up to cell B14. Okay, and it says the beginning balance for the second payment is the ending balance of the payment before it, right? So we want to click equals, and then we want to click in cell F13. Press enter, and it pulls that value down for us. Then it wants me to double click the fill pointer in cell B14 to fill it all the way down to row 72. It says the results are displayed as 0 or this dash because there's no data yet. It's pulling from the cells over here, but these cells are empty, so there's nothing to populate it with yet. Okay. Then we want to select cells C13, this is cool, through F13. And this has all of our formulas that we've used to figure out here, right? Double click the fill pointer. It fills all the way down. And as you can see with each of these payments, the interest goes down a little bit. The principal comes up a little bit. The payment stays constant. The ending balance goes down. And as we scroll down, what was $37.50 at the first payment, the last payment, only 70 cents goes toward interest. And we end with our balance of 0. So you get to see it's done relative formulas and filled this whole thing out with this. Step I, press Control Home. Oh, wrong document. Or wrong window, I should say. Over here and hit Control Home. All right, step 8. We are done with the student loan worksheet. We're now going to go over to the fees and credits worksheet. And this is just like a community college. They've got some different departments and they offer different numbers of sections and credit hours, and they want to figure some math out here. So we want to start by going to cell F7, the total fees for each of these. And it tells us the credit hours times the number of sections times the fee calculates the total fees. This is an easy one. We just start by doing equals for a formula, and then we just went credit hours times number of sections times fees. Hit enter, and we could see that the fees for the biology department come out to $4,500. Equal this, and then we want to double click the fill pointer to copy that guy down. And so we just copy that right down. It knows to go incrementally as we go down with our formulas. If you look up here, then we want to verify that F17 through F18 are currency format, and I see that they are. And then it wants us to set a single bottom border for cell F18. So I'm going to click just to select cell F18. My default border is bottom border, so I can just click this big part of the button, or I can click the drop down here and choose bottom border, the top option. Click off of it, I now see that bottom border there. All right. Step 9, use SUMIF. So SUMIF is a formula that will look inside of a range, and it'll look for criteria that you specify. So this is going to calculate fees by departments. We want to go down and select cell C26. And we just care about the fees for the biology department here. We've got biology, foreign language, information management systems, and physics, it looks like. So we want to go over to our formulas tab. And this time we're going to go to Math and Trigonometry, which if yours is collapsed like mine, we got Lookup and Reference. Math and Trigonometry is this little collapse button. We want to click on this and we want to go all the way down to Sum If. Don't do Sum Ifs, do Sum If. And it tells us it adds the cell specified by a given condition or criteria. So we click on this and it opens up a function arguments dialog box for us. First thing we want to do is click in the range box and we want to select cells B7 through B18. Okay. Now what that is the range. Then it wants us to press F4, or maybe function F4 on your laptop. It is the function keys above the numeric keys at the top of the keyboard. And we want to press that. And when we press that, it adds those dollar signs in there. Those dollar signs make it an absolute reference. How earlier when we copied this formulas, how they moved, this says, no, I don't care where I copy this formula, always point to this range. Get caught up on my steps over here. Oh, I skipped that one, so my highlight went away. F4. Okay, so then we go to the criteria box, and it says, okay, I'm going to look in this range that we just set. What do you want me to look for? Well, the criteria box, we want to click on cell C26, bio. It's going to populate with bio. So it's going to look in this range for the phrase bio. This, though, we want to leave as a relative value because when we copy this formula down, we want it always to point to the value over here. But we don't want this to move incrementally down. We want it always to point here. So we want to leave this absolute. We want to make this relative. And then the sum range says, hey, when I've found what you're looking for, where do you want me to put the output? And so for the output, we want to select cells F7. Oh, I'm sorry, the sum range. Oh, I clicked off of it. Is when I find it, where do you want me to find the values? We want to click F7 through F18 here. So it says, hey, look here for this. Look for this variable. If you find it, grab the number from over here and add it to your sum. So I'm going to go ahead and say OK. And it tells me the values for the biology department are 13,350, which is what I've got. And that's the 4,500 plus the 4,000 plus the 4,800. It's gone over here and looked for it and added those figures together. Okay, step 10, we're going to copy that formula. Now, it wants me to copy this without formatting to preserve the borders. So this has kind of an outside border. I just want to copy the text, not the borders. What we're going to do, click cell C26. We want to grab the fill pointer and drag it down. Then we want to click, I've made a mistake. Then we want to click without formatting. So it just copies the values here. Oh, I'll tell you the mistake I made. No, this is a learning moment. I forgot to make this value absolute, which is what I was meant to do. So get out of this. As I go down, you can see by down here, it's going F10 through F21 is where it's trying to add values from because it has moved this down the range. So what I want to do, I'm going to click undo to get rid of that. And then with this selected, I'm going to click insert function. I've got my range there. I want to click in that box, and then just like before, I want to press the function 4, the F4 key on my keyboard. Oh, it looks like I just got the last range. I'm going to select all of these, and that's what I want. Dollar signs around everything. I'm going to say OK. Then I'm going to fill it down, choose fill without formatting, and now my numbers look a little bit right, and I see it staying in that same range. The next step wants me to format those as currency, so I'm going to select them, go back to my home tab. Don't use the dollar sign because that makes accounting format. Instead, you hit your drop down and choose currency format. And there we go. Step 11 wants us to use sum product and trace an error. So it wants me to click D26 out here. Wants me to go to the formulas tab. Wants me to go to math and trig and this time choose sum product. So I'm going to go back up to math and trig. Scroll down to the S's and find sum product. And these are called arrays. Arrays are the same thing we did. A range and an array are just synonyms. So it says this will return the sum of the products of corresponding ranges or arrays. So sums are when you add things together. Products are when you multiply things together. So what we're trying to do here is figure out the total credit hours. Well, the total credit hours are going to be the credit hours times the number of sections plus the credit hours times the number of sections plus the credit hours times the number of sections. So we wanted to multiply those things and then add the products of that multiplication together. So the first one wants us to do it for biology. We're in the biology department. So for array 1, I want to choose cells C7 through C9, the credit hours for the course for the biology. Then I want to click in the array 2 box, and I want to choose D7 through D9, the total number of sections for the biology department. Then I want to click OK, and it tells me the biology department offered 98 hours. Now, when I click on the cell, it gives me this exclamation point. This is what they call a trace error. When I click on it, it tells me you have omitted adjacent cells. So this is Excel, because I only use these cells, thinking, did you make a mistake? I didn't, so I just want to go down and choose Ignore Error. Gets me through those steps. So now we want to copy and edit a sum product. So we want to click on D26, drag its fill pointer to the bottom without formatting. So click on the autofill options and choose Fill Without Formatting. But then we want to go to cell D27. We want to go up to our insert function, which could also be called edit function. And what it wants us to notice is it has moved everything down a line. But now it's pointing to C8 and C10. Well, if I do C8 through C10, that gives me two things from the biology department, and this first one from the foreign language department. That's not what I want. I want foreign languages here. So I'm going to go and delete my value in here. I'm going to come over to the credit hours next to the 3 foreign language classes. I'm going to go delete my value in array 2, and I'm going to choose the 3 number of sections next to foreign languages. I'm going to say OK. We're going to repeat that process twice. I'm going to ignore my error here. You can either click it and go down and say ignore, or you can just ignore it. It's not going to grade you on it. Go down to the one below it, insert function. I'm doing information management systems here, so I want to delete this value. I want this to be the 3 credit hours next to IMS. I want my array 2 to be the number of sections next to IMS. Boom, 96, the last one. Insert that function. Replace it with the 3 physical science classes, the credit hours. Delete array 2, replace it with the 3 number of sections for physical sciences. And we are good there. Gives us instructions and it says do it for the next ones too. So your results going down, if you want I can zoom in on this. Maybe I can't. But 98, 69, 96, 88 is going to be what your results should be there. Okay, home stretch, guys. Hang in there. So last thing I want us to do is, well, almost last thing is insert the current date as a function. So we just want to go to cell F20. So F20 just kind of hanging out here in the middle of nowhere. Whoops. We click on cell F20 and it wants us to hit insert to start a formula or function. Then it wants us just to type in the letters TO. We type in TO and it populates with these functions. You can either press the tab key on your keyboard to select the today function, or you can click on it with your mouse. When you click on it, it opens with function arguments, but there aren't any, so you just press enter, and that function gets replaced with today's date. You can see up in my function bar. So if I open this tomorrow, this would change. Then it wants me to hit Control Home. The last thing it wants me to do is to add a new worksheet for our to paste our range name. So down at the bottom where our worksheets are, I want to click the little plus. Gives me a new sheet called Sheet 1. It wants me to name the new sheet Range Names. So I can just double click on that and type in Range Names and press enter. Then it wants me to press F3, function 3 on my keyboard. So I press F3 on my keyboard. That opens the Paste Name dialog box. Then I just want to click Paste List. And then it wants me to auto-fit columns A and B. It looks like they're already selected, so I'm just going to go between B and C. Oh, no, didn't work. Got to go in between each one and double click. And there we go. Bang, 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 bang. Let's save it and see how we did. I will take it. Again, if you have any feedback here, you can toggle that on and off, and it'll give you the step-by-step. If you have any questions, reach out. Have a great day.